It's Friend of a Friend City. I'm Heather, and I'm here to meet some friends of friends. And welcome back once again to Friend of a Friend City, where I get to know some friends of my friends from this big small town of Brisbane. Now, today I've asked my friends Adam and Amy to introduce me to a friend of theirs. Now, you're Adam's friend, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Adam said your name is PCP.
PCP, yes.
You're a rapper.
I'm a rapper. That is my rapper name, obviously. PCP. Well, you see, my God-given name, my cardinal-given name, because I was baptized by the Cardinal of Brisbane. My cardinal-given name is Percival, and you know how normally a rapper would be an MC, a master of ceremonies, and I thought, well, you know, what's the closest thing I have to that? Ministers, and what's better than a minister? A prime minister. So what's better than a master of ceremonies? A prime master of ceremonies. So PC, and P is my God-given name, Percival. So PCP.
Prime Master.
Master Percival, yes.
Prime Master
But I preferred PCP.
PCP, just because it sounds a little bit cooler?
Yes, yeah, well, it's letters in a row. I have never heard anyone with that sort of name before, have you?
No, I don't think I have heard of anyone.
And as far as I know, it has no other implications.
I'm not so sure about that, but look, I won't correct you just yet.
Sorry.
Now,
should I perhaps Googled it before I put it on my brand?
Absolutely not. Now, so you're into rapping. How did you get into rapping?
How did I? Well, you see, it's tough growing up on the mean streets of Ascot. Very difficult. And you know, when you're in the mean streets of Ascot, there's only three ways to get out of Ascot, really. First of all is jail. Jail, of course, is the first one. And by jail, I mean, of course, becoming a lawyer. Yes, so that's the first way. The second way is, of course, drugs. Yes, drugs very bad in Ascot. And by that, of course, I mean becoming a doctor. And the third one is just getting out in a body bag. And, of course, by that, I mean just dying early.
Dying early?
Oh, yes, people of Ascot. Well, you know, the old families of Brisbane, because of all the sort of inbreeding, we don't like to talk about it in the history of the annals of history, just means that their hearts aren't as strong as normal people. But yes.
That's very interesting.
So yes, as I was growing up in the mean streets of Ascot, I thought, I've got to make something of myself. You know, because I don't want to end up like other people. I don't want to be working for my friend's dad who runs a law office and that sort of thing. Oh, the drudgery. So I decided to become a rapper. You
decided to become a rapper?
Yes.
Are you drawing on some of your experience from Ascot in your raps?
Oh, absolutely. It was classic songs of mine. You may have heard one of my songs called Let Them Eat Caviar.
Right.
And let them eat caviar. You'd think it would be a reference to the Marie Antoinette quote, but it's not. It's sort of a, hey, you know, those who like to eat caviar, just let them eat it. Don't make fun of them because they can afford fish eggs.
Right, so you're getting into the annals of history, it seems.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I love to do the rap history, you know, Biggie and Tupac.
I'm glad you brought up some of the major figures in hip hop and rap. Mm-hmm. Do you actually know much about rap music? Are you?
Oh, absolutely. Listen to it all the time. Love a bit of M&M.
That's quite a pronunciation, but okay. So
well, got to use the Queen's English. I mean, sorry, it's the King's English now. Ooh,
that might get you in trouble when you go home.
Oh, may she rest in peace.
Oh wow! Now, I've got to know. Okay, you've grown up in Ascot. It sounds like you haven't. I don't want to diminish your experience, but it sounds like you haven't had a rough time of it.
I can tell you, I've had just about as rough as anyone else. You know, some people when I went to high school with, I'll have you know that the high school I went to was heritage listed, Ascot State School, and that means that they couldn't have the fineries. Oh, the cafeteria was only 2 Michelin stars, not 3. So yes, sometimes we would have hotted dogs and lasagna. The ethnic food.
Really just pulling on
Yes, very difficult.
that Italian heritage as the...
Oh, yes, of course. I believe my family goes all the way back to the Illuminati, the classic Italian family.
So what's happened to your family for you to take up this career? What does your family think of you?
Oh, I'm the black sheep of the family,
I
don't
can
you
imagine.
know? They're all like, what have you done? You'll never be a lawyer. And I go, yes, that's the point. Even though I've passed the bar. I mean, everyone has to. Thankfully, they won't cut me out of the will, I believe.
They won't. And you've passed the bar.
Oh, yes, passed the bar, yes.
Percival, can I... sorry, PCP.
PCP, thank you.
May I ask how old you are?
How old I am? 65.
65
Yeah,
years
65.
old.
Spring chicken, don't you know?
So, you've got to tell me a little bit more about you getting into the rap game, okay?
Well,
are you ingratiating yourself with some of the Brisbane populace that are into rap music?
Well, I tell you what, I've sent some of my songs to 4ZZZ, 4ZZZ, as I like to say.
Community radio.
And they have refused to play them. They say, well, it's not the sort of music any of our listeners like. And I say, how would you know what our listeners like? I also slip them a 50, and they're like, well, we actually don't play music based on how much we're paid. And I say, well, if you're not going to play music based on how much you're paying, then I don't know how to help you.
Wow. So did they get to listen to your music?
Well, I don't know. They said it was the worst thing they'd ever heard, so it could be on the fence. I'm not entirely sure if they've actually listened to it or whether they were just trying to cut deep, as the young bloods say.
Oh, you think you're just being gate-kept from this?
Yeah, we had a little tete-a-tete where, they said something bad against me, I said something bad against them, they called the cops.
They called the cops?
Yes, of course. And my father's best friend, he is the commissioner of police in Brisbane, so of course we all had a good chuckle about that.
It sounds like you've found a very different route into the hip-hop community.
Well, and Daddy said, Daddy said to me, he said, if they won't play your songs, then I suppose we'll just have to buy them out. And I said, Daddy, no, I want to do this legitimately. I want to legitimately get onto the radio by sending in my tapes, slipping a 50 under the door and saying, please play them. Everybody will love them. Let them eat caviar is probably my best work.
I did hear a story about someone setting up a very large speaker system outside the 4ZZZ studios, basically overcoming any other noise.
Yes.
Do you know anything about this?
Well, they did ask me to perform, and I'm not saying that I paid for the speakers to be set up, but is this off the record?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I paid for the red speakers.
I don't think it matters if it's on the record for you. It sounds like you're completely...
No, of course not, because, the Illuminati, I can just have it wiped from existence. Don't you worry about that. Ooh, you'll get a knock on the door, and you'll never be heard of again. Anyway...
So... What's I don't think you've brought in any of your material to perform.
I haven't. I was not. I just believe this was to promote my album.
You have a whole album.
Oh, I have a whole album of songs. Yes, I've been doing this for quite a while.
Yes, it does.
25 years.
You've been at this for 25
years, and I've managed to write 6 songs.
So an EP's worth at very most.
Album, yes, I like to call it an album.
And a full album.
A full album, because if you put the instrumentals on as well.
Are you doing skits as well?
Skits? Oh yes. Knock on the door, and I do this very funny skit where I pretend to be my butler, and I'm all like, oh no, I have to work for a living. Chortle. It's so funny.
I will agree. I I will take your word for it.
No worries.
Do you have any collaborators?
Collaborators. Oh, I'd love would you like to do a collab?
I'm on the fence right now. We can talk
Okay.
about this afterwards.
All
but
right.
Are you? I don't know. You mentioned your butler there. Are you working?
Butler. Oh, yes. Well, I wouldn't let him be on the audio, although. Funny story, I found it very difficult to find an engineer, an audio engineer. You might know a little bit about that in your line of work. But anyway, so I couldn't find an audio engineer who really got me. So eventually I just said, oh, blast it, I'll get my butler to do it for me. And of course, he started off very terrible because he had spent his life butlering, which I believe is the verb of how to buttle. And so I sent him to music production school. And of course, he had to do that while the family was asleep and not in the hours when he was supposed to be butlering.
So you sent him into school, but it really just increased his work hours.
Well, that's one way you can look at it. I also increased his productivity.
I guess that's another way to look at it,
Yes, the
isn't
family all complained because he was ever so tired all the time, constantly falling asleep. But, as an audio engineer, he's improved.
it? Yeah, right. Now, we are going to need to move on to our next guest in a moment, but
totally fine.
I did want to ask: Did you go to a finishing school?
I went to the finest finishing school of Brisbane, the Brisbane Finishing School.
That is
Straight to the point.
Straight
I
to
love
the
it.
point. That's what finishing school is about, isn't it?
Yes, it was a very exclusive finishing school. You know how they put a book on someone's head and then make you walk? Well, at my finishing school, they put a book on your head, and if that book fell off at any point while you were at the finishing school, you were expelled. So basically, I spent 4 years with a book on my head.
That honestly sounds like that sounds like an experience that maybe you could have drawn on for some of your rap music, right?
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh.
That's album 2. I'll do album 2, book on the head.
Book on the head. That sounds like a version of torture, so maybe you can find some common ground there.
Oh, it's just a bit of rivalry between chaps.
Bit of rivalry between chaps.
Right, well, I'd say rivalry between chaps. That is a great name for my second album. Thank you so much, Heather.
No worries. Now, we do have to move on to our second guest.
Okay.
Are you happy to stick around?
Of course.
Great. Now, our second guest is a friend of my friend Amy. Now, their name's Jean, and Amy mentioned that you're an extra.
Yes, I've been working as an extra for most of my life. I'm 83 now.
Wow.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm an extra on commercials, TV shows, and movies and the like.
Can you tell what's something I would have seen you in, maybe?
Oh, well, I've only recently stopped being an extra in the TV show Home and Away.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That's quite,
yes.
a stalwart of Australian television.
Yes. So you might have seen me. I was often walking around the halls, of the high school.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Just of that's a curious place to be having you as a 83-year-old extra. Just wondering, were you do you know if you were supposed to be a teacher there, or were you just a lost citizen?
Well, no, I was wearing the school uniform, so I was a student.
Oh, well, that's a choice that Home and Away has made. Did anyone ever question you, or did you have to pretend to be? Oh, you're not too tall, I guess.
Yes, I'm quite short. I have gotten shorter over the years, so I'm the same height as most of the other young girls there.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I don't watch the show really, but so I never really saw myself in any of the scenes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anyone else might have seen me. But yes, that was something I loved. That was, yes, I just walk around back and forth while they were filming.
Wow. A star of Brisbane, it seems.
Oh,
Do you mind if I ask, what was Alf Stewart like?
oh, Alf. Very much the same on screen as he is off screen.
Yes, I assume
Yes,
so.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So really not doing too much acting, really just walking on the camera and being themselves.
Yes, and I often thought as when I was younger and I would watch the show, and I thought to myself, I mean, yes, they've been playing these characters for years now, and I think how much of them has just become part of the character. So yes, I think he's done a good job. He thought, well, I'll just play myself, make it easy. Yes.
So have you played any other extra roles that are in a similar vein, like
let me see. Oh, quite different. But my agent noticed how beautiful my hands were.
You do have very gorgeous hands.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you. Yes, so I was called up to be an extra, just my hands, for some episodes of Play School.
School.
Yes, they just decided sometimes when they were sort of zooming in on the lady who was, maybe making a sandcastle or doing some cutting. In those scenes, they would move her to the side, and they got me to come in and to do those movements, and they would use my hands.
Wow.
So that was a lovely time.
Another lovely
Yeah.
time. Did you get
Yeah.
to meet any of the stars of Play School too?
Oh yes, I met Noni and Benita, John, Big Ted.
Big Ted. How
Yes.
was Big Ted? Did you get along?
Yes, he was lovely. Jemima's probably my favourite. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was very nice.
And so you're still doing the extra work? Is this something that's ongoing?
Oh yes, still ongoing. I still get called up.
Yep.
Recently, I went into a different type of TV viewing, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
Adult entertainment. So pornography, basically. So they called me up and they said, yes, we do love your hands. And so when there were particular scenes where they were zooming in on the hands, touching various parts of the body, they used my hands.
Wow, you
yes.
got right in there, it seems.
Yes. But yes, it was a bit different. It was a bit of a challenge at first, just, something to get used to. But I thought, well, look, if my hands are what you want, then I will, I'll play the part. I'll get into character and do what needs to be done.
You were getting fully into character for these scenes. You were.
Yes, it's important to do the, to research the character and what their motivation is and what they're wanting from the other, their scene partner. So that really helped for it to feel natural, I think.
Can you talk through how that works? Of they're doing a wide shot of two people in an act of some description. Are you on
Waiters.
set? Are you just on set watching and just ready with your hands to jump in whenever needed?
Well, yes, mostly. I'm just there on the side of where they're filming, and just waiting and definitely watching, because I need to know what's happening and what.
You wouldn't want to break the rhythm.
No, definitely not. No, so so I'm watching, and so I know what's happened. So I know what I need to do with my hands exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
Can I ask, what's the hardest character your hands have had to get into? Generally with those sort of films, you see, the pool boy, the teacher, the MILF. What's the hardest character you've gone, I don't quite know how these hands work?
Yes, well, that's a good question, because I am a lesbian. So yes, initially, making my hands play a straight person was quite difficult. I didn't know what to do. And I was terrible at first.
Yeah.
So it was not very good. They said, you've got a terrible grip. And they said, go home and practice.
And what did you say to that?
I said, would it be okay if I maybe didn't do those scenes? And they said, well, do you want that's where we need your hands. You have beautiful hands. And I said, all right. And I went home and I thought it over, and I spoke to my partner Miriam, and she said, go on, it'll be all right.
Oh, she's quite supportive.
Yeah. Well, she said, look, we want to go for a holiday to the coast, so this would be a great skit for you to do. So
Has anyone recognised you? I can tell from here your hands are quite what might you say? They're distinct in their beauty. Have you been recognised on the street now?
Oh, yes, it does happen from time to time. Yes, I think, where was I last week? I must have been at the butcher, and I tapped my card onto the machine, and the young lass behind the counter said, "Oh my goodness," she said, I'm sorry, this is probably not something you get asked very often, but your hands look very recognizable." She said, I'm sure they're not the same hands, but they look like hands that I've seen in a popular online video. And I said, "Oh, darling, bless you. They are the same hands."
So you're not embarrassed by this at all. It's wonderful.
No, it's yes, I think it's lovely that young people are having healthy relationships with themselves, and I must say, the videos that I do, I do like to look at the script beforehand, and I don't just go for anything. I want to. It needs to feel authentic and respectful. Yes.
Wow, it sounds like you've really moved from just being an extra, from being a child playing extra in Home and Away, to being a real star of the adult entertainment industry.
Oh yes, it's an area I never thought I'd be in. Gosh, I think my mother would be mortified if she knew what I'd been doing. But no, it's yes, I think it's wonderful.
I must say there's a little bit of overlap in Home and Away. Obviously, you've got adult actors wearing high school uniforms, and then the other movies that you're doing, you have adult actors also wearing high school uniforms.
Yes, that is quite a good point you make there. PCP? Did I get that right?
Yes, that's my rapper name. You can call me Percival if you like.
Percival,
Thank
lovely,
you.
lovely.
Jean,
yes, that's right.
I shall remember those hands for in memoriam.
Oh, that's lovely, PCP. And I would love to hear some of your music.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
I'll send you a couple of bars, and you can listen to those while you're...
Just a couple of bars.
Just a couple of bars, yes.
Yeah, not very generous. Are you?
Well, I do want people to buy the whole album, so just a couple of verses.
Just a couple of little verses.
Yes, I
just
don't even
teaser.
include the chorus. Got to go to the album for that one. First one is free, and then the second one is expensive.
I've got to say, I didn't think your music... I thought your music maybe wasn't up to scratch based on the reviews, but maybe you're keeping people out of your music too much.
Yes, well, that's how you get a very exclusive clientele. I only release albums on Tidal, if anyone remembers that.
Also, you're still releasing it on the defunct platform.
Yes, they've asked me to stop and told me that no, the platform doesn't exist anymore. But I say no, I subscribe to Tidal, and they say no, you can't. Nobody can. I'm sorry, Jean. Do you want to tell us more about your adventures?
That's quite all right.
Do you audition for these roles, or are you offer only?
Initially, I was auditioning for the extra roles, and then the more work I got, the more I made networks, contacts in the industry, and then people just contacted me. Yes, so most of the work I get now is I've got contracts with various producers. Yes, but I did initially have to do a hand audition, actually.
Okay. What's that entail, to do a hand audition?
Yes, it's so I actually just designed, or I guess created, my own hand choreography. Did a bit of a sort of dance with my hands. Yes, and just to show that they were very dexterous and nimble, just to show what they look like on different angles and doing different movements, and they were obviously pleased with it, because then I booked my first role with that.
Wow.
Yes.
I wanted to ask about your partner Miriam. What do they do? Are they working? Are they retired?
Yes, Miriam is retired now. She used to work at the local cemetery. She was in the office. She organised a lot of the I guess the administration of the cemetery, helped people with booking various things that needed to happen. Yes, I've forgotten all the ins and outs
The
of what
ins
she
and
did.
outs of the cemetery life. Wow.
Yes.
So in a way, you were kind of both hanging out with stiffs.
That's very funny.
Oh, thank
PCP.
you.
That's a
Thank
nice
you.
pun, Percival. Well,
Thank you. More wordplay if you buy my album whenever it gets released.
Oh, yes, I'm very, very much looking forward to hearing these
Thank
few
you.
bars.
Very much look forward to see your hands and
Yes.
the big screen. Do you hope to see your hands on the big screen one day?
Oh, yes, that would be fun. Yes, I haven't really been contacted about any movie scenes, but yes, that would be quite enjoyable, I think.
Can I ask, when you're watching a movie and you
Yes.
see them go in for a close up of the hands, do you kind of turn
Yes.
to Miriam and go, well, obviously that's not Tom Cruise's hand, or
Yes. I since doing this work, I have definitely paid attention to that, and I mean, you can't tell, but unless you know the person really. But I think. No, there are some times where I've thought, no, that's definitely not her hands, and yes. So and I think I'm more cautious now with what I do with my hands. I have to look after them quite a lot. But yes, it's yes. To answer your question, I'm not sure if I did.
so what's next for Jean?
Yes.
Where's Jean going next? You said you were going down to the coast.
Oh yes, we like to get away.
Oh, just a holiday.
Just
it's
a holiday.
Yeah.
Yes. Or did you think we were moving?
I wasn't sure. I thought maybe you're moving up in the world at this.
Oh no, well, I'd like to stay here in Brisbane while I'm getting some work, while I'm still enjoying it. But we do like to go away on trips and get away to the beach and that sort of thing.
Are you worried
yes.
at the beach of? I mean, we do live in Australia. There's the sharks and the blue bottles around. Are you ever worried about your hands there? Do you keep them up out of the water?
Oh, yes, I am quite careful. Most of the time I wear gloves if I'm outdoors,
okay.
just to keep them protected. If I'm driving, I wear gloves just to keep them protected from the sun, any sun damage. Yes, so yes.
Now,
can I just ask, so you do the hands, so I just want to know, how many other body parts do they have specialized people for? Is it, we're going to get a shot of the foot now, let's get the foot person in. We're going to get a shot of the lips, let's get the lip person in. We're going to get a shot of the butt, let's get the butt person in. How many people are there waiting in the wings?
Oh, yes. Yes, well, it all depends on the director, but I remember one time it was obviously 2 people in the scene, and there were about 10 of us on the side.
oh wow, 10 people to make up one person.
Yes, that's right.
Ever had any competition for your hands? Have you got a nemesis, a rival?
Yes, there is a lady, Marjorie. She came along after me. So I think she's learnt from everything I've done.
Oh, wow.
And she's
copycat.
followed in my path, yes. She's approached, the directors and producers that I've worked with.
Yeah.
And, so I do keep an eye on her. As much as I like to talk about what I do, I've got to keep some things close to my chest because I know Marjorie's listening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What about you, PCP? Like rivalries in the rap game
Yes.
are a common sort of...
Oh, well, I would love a rivalry.
You don't have a rivalry?
No, not currently. But if you have any issues with, what was their name again? Marjorie. If you have any issues with Marjorie, let me know. And
thank
I'll
you.
come a blasting.
You'll come blasting?
Yes, with words, of course. Yes.
okay.
They say the pen is mightier than the sword, and of course I use a laptop and a tablet, so they must of course be much mightier than whatever the digital version
Definitely.
of a sword is.
Right.
So yes,
I
maybe
might take
Marjorie
you
could
up
be
on
my
that.
rap rival.
Yes, well, she won't know what hit her.
Well, it's difficult to have.
I guess it's an age-appropriate rap rivalry. I'm
Yeah, it's
imagining
age-appropriate,
Marjorie's
yeah, 65.
an elderly sort of woman.
Yeah, she'd probably be about my age, in
Okay, yeah.
her 80s. So,
Yeah.
I think it's fair game.
Great.
Absolutely. Wow. You're going to go after...
I mean, if you want to be on my next album, rivalry of, I forget what I was going to call it. Ribaldry of friends. That'll do.
Yeah.
I do forget what you were about to call it, but it was a good name, wasn't it?
It was a great name, and I can't wait to listen back to this episode to find out what it was.
Very nice. Now, we are coming close to the end of our episode.
Oh, that's a shame.
I do always like to ask our guest about what's their favourite, what is your favourite thing to do in Brisbane? Is there something that you really enjoy, PCP?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I living in Ascot and with the families I associate with, it's quite interesting. I do love to go to QPAC and see a show there. Obviously not in the Cremorne or any of those other theatres. There's actually a more exclusive theatre that's up the top in, you know how there's rumours of in the mountain in Disney, there's a basketball hoop up in one of the rides. Is this a...
Right.
Is this a story that's resonating with anyone?
This is not a rumour that I've heard, but
Great.
so a secret room in the Disney.
I'm glad that I'm bringing this up to reference the thing that I'm about to talk about. Amazing. So at the top of the QPAC, above where everyone works, there is a special theatre of which only the finest arts happen.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're living a very exclusive life.
Yes, dueling productions of The Mousetrap and Les Miserables happening at the same time.
They're happening at the same time.
Happening at the same time, so you get a swivel chair, comfortable swivel chair, and you switch between the two. Sometimes you're watching Jean Valjean talk about how badly life is, and you go, yes, I understand. Once I wanted to go in summer in the Swiss Alps, and all I could manage was the German Alps. Ooh, I feel you, Jean Valjean. And then you swing around and you're like, mousetraps.
That's what Mousetrap
Yes, I believe that's what the play, The Mousetrap is about. A bunch of mousetraps. It's like that quote, build a bigger mousetrap, and Agatha Christie will write, The Mousetrap.
There you go.
Gene,
What about yourself, Gene? What's your favourite thing to do in Brisbane?
Well, it's not as exclusive as that.
No, I don't think many people
wonderful.
get to experience that.
No, yes, I'm very jealous. Something, or me and Miriam, we love to get outside. I love the water, so we both like to go down to Manly and sit by the water and have some fish and chips.
Oh, that's a lovely time.
That's something I like to do. And we both also just love to sit at home on our veranda with our cats. Yes, just something nice and quiet and relaxing. Yes, I think that's about it. I do love to go to the theatre too. That's
what sort of plays do you like to see, Jean?
Oh, well, I love musicals, but they're often very expensive. But yes, I do love it when I can get to one. And also just local theatre. It's nice to support the people in the local theatre.
That's very nice.
Yes.
Are you going to be seeing Amy anytime soon?
Oh, no, she's not performing in the coming months as far as I know, but I will catch up with her for a cup of tea, I think.
Very nice. And what about yourself? Are you, PCP, are you catching up with Adam?
Yes, of course. I know Adam quite well. Whenever I want to go and see him, the best place to see him is at Big Fork Theatre. He's usually there more than his own home. And I say to him, we should collab sometime. And he goes, but I'm not a rapper. I'm an improviser. And I say, well, it's pretty much the same thing. I say things off the top of my dome, and you say things off the top of your dome. Of course, when I mean that, I mean the dome that's on top of my house. I go to the top of my house where I have a observatory, which I call the dome, and I say things off the top of it.
Off the top of it.
So,
all
yes,
written
Big
down?
Fork Theatre is what I'm trying to say, yes.
Yes, right. And you write down all the things before you go and talk.
My butler writes them down for me.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Did you have to take them to a writing school as well?
Oh, yes, he had to become a stenographer, and so I sent him to stenography school, which was quite difficult because he was also doing the music production school at the same time.
Sounds like a hard job.
And then he died soon after, so that was difficult. Have you ever felt the excruciating feeling in the months between butlers? Oh, the pain, the pain. Jean Valjean, I know how you feel when you stole that loaf of bread.
PCP, you are completely unrelatable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you so much for having us, Heather.
And thank you everyone for listening to Friend of a Friend City.
Hey Heather, it's Adam here. Thank you so much for having PCP on the podcast. It's been a real boost to his confidence, and he's had a real difficulty getting people to buy his first album. He does want me to ask you how many units you want to buy. He said there's a deal after about 10 to 20. Anyway, we'll talk business a little bit later, but thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Thank you.
Hey Heather, it's Amy. Thanks so much for having Jean on your show. She's been my next door neighbour for about the last 10 years, and she's really lovely and had a very interesting life. So I'm glad that she felt comfortable to come and talk to you about what she does. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye.